Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating, honestly, deeply empathetic look at our relationship with food. We're going to unpack the introduction and first chapter of Gadi's The Book of Eating. We'll be looking into exactly why those traditional, strict diets just always seem to fail us, and how we can actually find a much more loving, sustainable path forward. So let's just go ahead and validate a universal problem we all share. You know the exact moment I'm talking about, right? You've just finished a meal, you are completely physically full, but out of absolutely nowhere, this thought pops into your head: I want something else. And before you know it, you're doing that classic zombie walk to the kitchen. You're opening the cupboard, you're just kind of staring blankly into the fridge, maybe hunting for something sweet, and then suddenly you want something salty. Now, on the surface, it just looks like, well, we want delicious food. But very quickly, this deep, heavy frustration sets in. We start asking ourselves, why can't I just stop? I know for a fact I don't need this, but I literally can't control it. It is this overwhelming feeling of being a passenger in your own body. And man, that leads right into the intense internal monologue that hits in that very moment. When that urge strikes, the self-blame is almost instant. We tell ourselves, okay, I'm going to be stronger tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm absolutely going to stop. But when the urge actually shows up today, all those logical, well-meaning promises just completely vanish. The only voice left in your head is this singular, overpowering demand: I need this now. And honestly, even if there is this tiny, faint little logical voice in the back of your mind whispering, hey, you're going to regret this, it doesn't stand a chance. The urge is just so much stronger. It completely sweeps us away, and it really feels like someone else has just grabbed the steering wheel. What happens next is just this incredibly draining cycle. We give in, right? Because holding back that urge feels like we're suffocating, like we're trapped in this internal tug of war that we absolutely cannot win. So we eat. And look, for a few fleeting moments, it's great. It's tasty, it's fun, but that fun ends so fast. And what replaces it? This heavy physical discomfort, just a deep fatigue in your stomach and a crushing sense of disappointment. We start beating ourselves up with intense self-criticism. We feel sad, sometimes really isolated. And you know what makes this whole cycle so exhausting? It's the absolute dread of knowing that tomorrow, this exact same scenario is going to play out, and we'll probably end up with the exact same disappointment. We spend so much of our energy just to feel heavy and frustrated. This right here brilliantly illustrates why our absolute go-to solution, willpower, is literally the worst tool for the job when it comes to food. We are so conditioned to think that if we just make up our minds to restrain ourselves, stand up to the urge and just say no, we'll succeed. But we all know how that movie ends. Willpower does not work long-term. Think about it like this. If you want to quit smoking, as incredibly difficult as that is, you can ultimately just stop entirely. You can cut it out of your life. But food is not like smoking. You can't just quit food cold turkey. We have to eat every single day. We are constantly surrounded by it, which means we are guaranteed to run into these urges again and again and again. Willpower, it just eventually runs out of gas. So to totally replace this whole idea of willpower, Gadi introduces this fascinating concept: the eating autopilot. So instead of seeing this as some massive personal failure, think of these urges as just automatic patterns. They're basically programs running in the background. They repeat themselves, maybe triggered by a specific time of day or a certain situation, like, say, nighttime snacking. When the sun goes down, boom, the autopilot just boots up. It's on a schedule. But here is the really wild part. While this autopilot is running its routine, it completely ignores the actual question of whether eating is right for your body or your nutrition in that moment. Logic doesn't even enter the chat. It's just an automatic pattern doing its thing. Now, if you're wondering if this shift in mindset actually works, well, let's talk about the number 32. That is the number of kilograms, which is about 70 pounds, that Gadi himself actually managed to shed. And the craziest part, he's kept that weight off for years. So how'd he do it? Definitely not by fighting his urges with white-knuckled willpower. No way. He did it simply by studying his own autopilots over time and essentially giving them a software update. By taking the time to understand these automatic patterns, the autopilots themselves changed, and that is the secret sauce that made his weight loss actually stick. This brings us to a massive, game-changing paradigm shift. If these autopilots are really just running programs, we have to ask ourselves, what if this urge to eat isn't actually an enemy at all? I mean, we are so deeply conditioned to view this urge as a monster we have to go to war with and defeat, but what if it's actually trying to do something for us? What if, in its own super misguided way, this automatic pilot is trying to solve an unmet need or answer some deeper desire that we're completely missing in our day-to-day lives? And that realization builds a completely new approach. It shifts this from a punishing, miserable journey into a really loving one. The old way is entirely built on restriction, heavy self-blame, eating fast because you feel completely out of control, and relying on pure willpower. It's basically a war zone. But the new way, it replaces restriction with curiosity. It replaces that heavy self-blame with genuine kindness. It encourages slowing down, and most importantly, it relies on your own inner wisdom instead of brute force willpower. It's all about listening to yourself rather than fighting yourself. So here's the absolute most crucial point. To start down this new path, you don't have to give up eating. You do not have to fight the urge to make progress. Actually, to figure out what your autopilot really wants, Gadi suggests that you can eat as much as you want, exactly like you do today. Seriously, you don't have to change the food to change the experience. We are simply going to bring something else to the moment of eating, right alongside the food itself, right? Okay, so here is exactly how this looks in the real world. Next time that urge hits, and let's be real, we know it's going to happen, try this. Step 1, give in to the urge. Seriously, go ahead and eat. Step 2, but this time, I want you to bring curiosity into that moment. Step 3, take a breath. Just allow yourself to actually be there. And step 4, listen. The goal here is just to slow down the pace of your eating, just a tiny bit. And let me be super clear, we aren't slowing down to try and save a few calories on a sleeve of Oreos. We're slowing down because we trust that the urge we're feeling isn't actually just an urge for food. By slowing down, we are finally listening to what that urge is desperately trying to solve for us. And that thought leads perfectly into Gadi's incredibly warm invitation to all of us. He literally wishes us delicious binges, and along with that, kindness and curiosity toward yourselves. Think about how refreshing that is. It's an invitation to embark on an intriguing, loving, and entirely shame-free journey back to ourselves. It's basically acknowledging, hey, the food is going to happen, so we might as well ditch the guilt and just replace it with some gentle, curious observation. Which leaves us with one final, really powerful thought for you to take away from this explainer today. We know the autopilot is going to boot up again, we know that urge is going to strike, but the very next time it does, as you take that breath and as you bring a little curiosity into the moment, what is it truly asking you for? What deeper need is trying to be met? Figuring out the answer to that might just change your entire relationship with food forever. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you bring a little extra kindness to your very next meal.